Do you know that feeling when someone blocks your only way out during a fire? That's exactly how I felt when I caught my HOA's vice president, my next-door neighbor, stealing electricity from my house to charge her Tesla. $300 a month added to my bill, and when I finally stopped her, my smart power system turned her $90,000 luxury car into a dead-silent brick. My name's Ethan Bailey, 35 electrical engineer, ex-Army Corps of Engineers. I live in Pinewood Estates, a neat manicured suburb outside Seattle where everyone smiles, waves, and pretends not to notice anything. I bought this house after my divorce, just wanting quiet. I paid my HOA dues on time, mowed the lawn, minded my business. Then Deborah Harrington moved in. She showed up in a gleaming white Tesla Model X, wearing sunglasses that probably cost more than my first car. When I brought a welcome basket, local beer, some chocolates, she called my place quaint, like she was describing a gas station restroom. I should have known right then. Within 6 weeks, she'd charmed, flattered, and threatened her way into becoming vice president of the HOA. Dinner parties, wine gossip, suddenly everyone treated her like suburban royalty. Then came my electric bill, $450, triple the usual. I checked every appliance, crawled through my attic with a usage meter, found nothing. A week later, at 2 a.m., my security camera pinged my phone. Half asleep, I opened the feed, and there she was, Deborah, in silk pajamas, sneaking through my backyard with an extension cord. She plugged it into my outdoor outlet, ran the cord through the shrubs she'd recommended the HOA plant for aesthetics, and right into her Tesla. The next morning, I knocked on her door. "Deborah, we need to talk about you using my electricity." She smiled like butter wouldn't melt. "I have no idea what you're talking about, Ethan." I showed her the video. Her eyes hardened. That could be anyone. And honestly, if your electrical system is that fragile, maybe you should upgrade. Property values matter, you know. Then with syrup in her voice, she added, "As HOA vice president, I should remind you your hedges are 2 inches above regulation height." That was the moment I realized this wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a power play. I installed locking covers on my outlets. 2 days later, I got an HOA violation notice, unauthorized exterior modifications. Gregory, the HOA's self-important inspector, showed up with a clipboard and a cheap cologne cloud. I tried showing him the footage. He said flatly, "That's a private dispute. But these lock boxes, those are within my jurisdiction." Under his watchful eyes, I had to remove them. At the next HOA meeting, I decided to bring it up publicly. But when I began to speak, Deborah interrupted with her polished voice, "Point of order. Personal disputes don't belong in open session." The president, a tired man named Frank, nodded like a puppet. Then she unveiled her new proposal: community charging stations to increase property value. 4 chargers, one conveniently right next to her house. And the kicker, the electricity cost would be spread across all residents through HOA fees. She'd just legalized stealing power, only now everyone would pay for it. That night, I sat at my desk staring at my laptop, feeling the walls close in. How do you fight someone who controls the rules? I dug into HOA bylaws, county codes, anything. That's when I met Martha Wilson, a 70-something widow with sharper eyes than most detectives. That Harrington woman, she said, sipping coffee, has half the board wrapped around her finger. But honey, she's not untouchable. With Martha's intel and help from Brian and Sarah Thompson, neighbors struggling with rising HOA fees, we started gathering proof. I installed power monitors documenting every kilowatt she stole. Brian collected signatures. Sarah spread word quietly. 23 households supported us. For the first time, I thought maybe justice could work. Then the rumors started. People crossed the street to avoid me. Someone whispered I had PTSD, that I'd been spying on Deborah with my cameras. Brian called voice low, "Man, there's talk you've been watching her at night." Deborah had flipped the story completely. That night, I sat in my garage surrounded by violation letters. Mailbox, 2 low trash cans, visible garage door paint, not HOA approved. My hands shook. Maybe I really had gone too far. Maybe I should just let it go. Then Martha called. "If you quit now, she wins forever. You know electricity better than anyone here. Maybe it's time she learned the cost of power." That sentence hit me like a jolt. I stopped seeing myself as the victim. I started designing. For 3 straight nights, my garage turned into a lab. I built a Smart Power Shield, SPS for short, industrial-grade fully legal certified safe. It monitored voltage, detected unauthorized draw, issued warnings with flashing lights and beeps, then safely cut power if abuse continued. It wouldn't hurt anyone, but it sure wouldn't reward thieves either. I documented every wire, every safety label, even consulted a city inspector friend. When it was done, I mounted it near the backyard outlet with a big glowing sign. Protected by SPS. Unauthorized use may damage connected devices. For days, Deborah eyed it suspiciously during her morning inspection walks. Then came the violation letter, unauthorized signage. I replied with the county code proving electrical warnings were mandatory. For once, even Gregory had to back down. A week later, new community outlets appeared along the property line. Emergency infrastructure upgrades rushed through by Deborah. I knew she'd use them, so I extended the SPS's monitoring range. Not to control, just to record. At 1 a.m., the system pinged. Deborah was back. Her Tesla gleamed under the moonlight. She plugged in, smirked toward my camera, and cranked the charge rate to max. The warning light blinked yellow. The beeper sounded. She frowned, then, God help her, increased the power draw even higher. The SPS flashed its final warning, then engaged the safety cutoff, a controlled voltage surge, followed by a hard disconnect. On my monitor, her Tesla's status flipped to error mode. Deborah stood frozen beside the car, bathed in the yellow glow, realizing the universe had just bitten back. At 8 a.m., my front door shook under her pounding fists. She screamed, "Open this door, you vindictive little man." I opened it calmly, coffee in hand. "Morning, Deborah. You destroyed my car. $22,000 in damage, the battery's fried. You did this." Half the neighborhood had stepped outside to watch. I spoke clearly. I installed a certified protection system with visible warnings. You ignored them while using community power at 1 a.m. Her husband, William, corporate attorney, Rolex flashing, showed up 20 minutes later, already on the phone with someone important. "Ethan," he said coldly, "Deb tells me you built some homemade trap that ruined our Tesla." I handed him the documentation. Not homemade. Industrial safety standard. Certified, logged, time-stamped. And your wife ignored every warning. He flipped through the pages, frowning. "This says there were visual and audible alerts." He looked at Deborah. "Did you see any?" She stammered something about blinking lights. I went for the kill. "Also, I've got 6 months of data showing she's been using HOA power for personal charging and manipulating votes to approve it. That's misuse of community funds. Fraud in some states." For the first time, William looked shaken. He lowered his voice. "We'll discuss this privately." As they walked away, I heard him mutter, "$22,000. Are you kidding me?" A week later, I called a special HOA meeting. Word spread fast, standing room only. Martha had prepared binders of financial records highlighted with every bylaw Deborah had broken. Frank, the weary president, opened the session, voice trembling. "Mr. Bailey has requested time to address a community concern." I stepped forward, plugged in my laptop, and hit play. On the big screen, Deborah in her silk robe sneaking into my yard. Gasps echoed, then graphs, electric bills climbing in sync with her nightly charging. I explained calmly, like a briefing in the Army. She's been using about 75 kilowatt hours nightly, roughly $500 a month, all billed to us. Murmurs turned into angry voices. I showed the footage of the SPS warnings, the flashing light, her smirk as she pushed the charge higher. She ignored every safety signal. The system protected itself exactly as designed. Deborah jumped up red-faced. "This is harassment. He's obsessed with me." From the back, Brian Thompson stood. "My son had to quit baseball because our HOA fees went up." "You mean we were paying to charge your Tesla?" People erupted. Elderly residents on fixed incomes, young families, all shouting at once. Frank tried to restore order, sweating through his collar. Then Martha's voice cut through the noise like a whip. I moved for immediate removal of Deborah Harrington from the board, full restitution of misused funds, and a new election. Dozens shouted. Seconded. The vote wasn't close. Deborah lost everything: her position, her influence, $7,000 owed in restitution. 2 weeks later, a tow truck hauled away her precious Tesla. Warranty denied damage due to improper charging. She and William sold their house at a loss and disappeared. That night I walked past the spot where her car used to sit, now quiet, the faint smell of ozone still hanging in the air. The street was calm again, the power meters hummed evenly. Funny thing about electricity, it doesn't care who you are, how expensive your car is, or how many titles you hold. Cross the wrong circuit and it'll teach you exactly what power really means. Lesson learned. Some people think they run the neighborhood until they find out the current runs both ways.